"You're worthless," my mother screamed into the microphone at my promotion party. 12 years in the army and this is all you managed to become? Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe if you enjoy stories where betrayal meets justice. The room went silent. Not the polite kind of silence, the kind that makes your stomach drop. More than 100 people were packed into the ballroom. Friends, neighbors, family members, business owners, even a few military guests. Every eye turned toward me. I stood frozen beside the stage. Just minutes earlier, I had been celebrating a promotion after 12 years as an Army intelligence officer. I should have been proud. Instead, I felt humiliated. My mother, Linda Parker, smiled into the microphone like she had just delivered the joke of the century. Then my younger brother, Ethan, stood up and raised his glass. "I'd like to thank Sarah," he said. A few people laughed. Ethan grinned wider. Without her constantly running off to play soldier, Mom and Dad might have had at least one normal child. This time the laughter was louder. My face burned. I looked around the room hoping someone would step in. Nobody did. My father sat comfortably at his table, smiling as if he approved of every word. Then my mother leaned toward the microphone again. "Sarah always thought she was the successful one." More chuckles. "But Ethan owns a real business. Sarah just follows orders." The crowd laughed again. That one hurt. Not because it was clever, because she knew exactly what I had sacrificed. The deployments, the holidays spent overseas, the birthdays I missed, the relationships that fell apart because military life always came first. She knew all of it, and she enjoyed using it against me. I forced a smile and quietly walked away. If I stayed another minute, I might say something I'd regret. The moment I reached the parking lot, the mask disappeared. My hands shook as I unlocked my car. I sat behind the wheel and stared through the windshield. Why? The question kept repeating in my head. Why did they hate me so much? Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Don't embarrass us by crying." I stared at the screen. A second text arrived. "Ethan, honestly, nobody even wanted you there." Then a third. My father. "You always make everything about yourself." I laughed. A short, bitter laugh, because somehow they had turned my promotion into a personal attack on them. I started the car. Another message appeared. This one from Ethan. "Don't bother coming by the house tomorrow." I frowned. "Why?" His reply came instantly. "We changed the security codes." My stomach dropped. My parents' house. The same house I had spent years helping save financially. The same house where I still had personal belongings stored. They had changed the codes without telling me. Then another message arrived. "Mom says you're not family when you act like this." I read it twice, 3 times. Something inside me cracked. Not anger, not yet, just disappointment, the kind that settles deep in your chest. I drove home in silence. Sleep never really came that night. The next morning was worse, much worse. I woke up to dozens of notifications. At first, I assumed something had happened at work, maybe an emergency, maybe a deployment update. Instead, I opened Facebook and felt my stomach twist. My mother had posted photos from my promotion ceremony. The caption read, "Some people spend their whole lives chasing status because they can't earn love." Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, family friends, relatives, neighbors. Then I saw Ethan's comment. "She abandoned this family years ago." My jaw tightened. The replies came immediately. "That's heartbreaking. Your parents deserve better. Family should always come first." I couldn't believe it. They were rewriting reality in public, and people were believing every word. Throughout the day, the post spread. Then my mother made another one. This time she implied military service had damaged me emotionally. She never said it directly. She didn't need to. The suggestion was enough. Suddenly, strangers were discussing my life online. People who knew nothing about me. People who had never spent a single day in my shoes. The comments kept coming. Every notification felt like another punch. Then my aunt called. I answered immediately. "Big mistake." "Sarah," she said coldly, "I can't believe how you've treated your parents." I sat upright. What are you talking about? You should be ashamed of yourself. Click. She hung up. Then another relative called. Then another. Then another. By lunchtime, I had become the villain of the family story. Nobody wanted my side. Nobody asked questions. They simply accepted the version my mother had created. By evening, I felt completely isolated. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the wall. My phone remained silent for the first time all day. Then headlights flashed outside my window. I glanced toward the street. A black SUV sat across from my building, engine running, dark tinted windows, motionless. I frowned. Maybe it belonged to a neighbor. Maybe someone was waiting for a friend. But something about it felt wrong. I stood there watching. The SUV didn't move. 5 minutes passed, still nothing. 10 minutes, nothing. Then suddenly, the vehicle pulled away and disappeared down the street. I shook my head and walked away from the window. I told myself I was overthinking it. After the day I'd had, paranoia seemed reasonable. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been watching me. And I had no idea that the black SUV was only the beginning of a much bigger story. The next morning, it would return, and when it did, everything would start to change. The next morning started with a phone call from Ethan. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But curiosity won. "Sarah," he said casually, as if nothing had happened. No apology, no mention of the promotion party, no acknowledgement of the lies online. Just confidence. Pure confidence. "I need $20,000. For a second, I thought I'd heard him wrong. "What?" "20 grand, he repeated. "The business is a little tight this month." I actually laughed. After humiliating me in front of 100 people, after helping my mother spread lies online, after locking me out of the family home, he wanted money. More money. "No," I said. Silence. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no." Ethan laughed. "Stop being dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. Your family." There it was, the magic word. Family. The word they only remembered when they wanted something. "No," I repeated. His voice hardened immediately. "You owe us." I hung up. 5 minutes later, my mother called. "Sweetheart," she began. "Interesting. 2 days ago, I was worthless. Now I was sweetheart. Your brother is under a lot of pressure." "Not my problem." Silence. Then her tone changed. "After everything we've done for you?" I nearly dropped the phone. Everything they'd done for me? The irony was unbelievable. I ended the call. Then my father called. Then Ethan again. Then my mother. Then Ethan. Then my mother again. By lunchtime, I'd ignored over 30 calls. That's when I opened my banking dashboard. For years, I'd quietly paid expenses nobody knew about. The mortgage, utility bills, insurance, emergency loans, medical debt, even cash injections into Ethan's business. Thousands of dollars every month, sometimes more. I stared at the payment schedule. Then I asked myself a simple question. What exactly am I protecting? The answer came instantly. Not family, dependency. My finger hovered over the screen. Then I clicked. Mortgage payment canceled. Utility payment canceled. Insurance support canceled. Business transfers canceled. Every recurring payment disappeared one after another. Less than 60 seconds later, years of financial support were gone. I expected guilt. Instead, I felt relief. Real relief. The kind you feel after carrying a weight for too long. The reaction came faster than I expected. The next morning, my phone exploded. 43 missed calls, 17 text messages, 3 voicemails. The first message came from my mother. "Call me immediately." The second from my father. "There must be some mistake." The third from Ethan. "Fix this now." I smiled. The panic had started. By afternoon, Ethan finally reached me through a different number. "What the hell did you do?" he demanded. "I stopped paying your bills." Silence. Real silence. Then, "You can't do that." "I just did." "My business depends on that money." "That's unfortunate." The line went dead. For the first time in years, he had no comeback. 2 days later, things got worse for him. Much worse. Employees started posting complaints online. Suppliers demanded overdue payments. Customers began reporting delayed orders. One local business forum was full of comments asking if Ethan's company was in trouble. The answer was obvious. The business wasn't just struggling, it was bleeding. Every day brought a new problem. Every day brought another angry call. Then the black SUV returned. This time it wasn't parked across the street. It was directly outside my apartment building. I noticed it immediately. Same vehicle, same dark windows, same unsettling feeling. I stood on my balcony watching. 15 minutes passed. Nobody got out. Then the driver's door finally opened. A tall man stepped out. Military haircut, dark suit, professional posture. He glanced toward my building before looking away. My pulse quickened. A few seconds later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Captain Sarah Parker," a calm voice asked. "Yes?" "My name is Colonel James Whitaker." I sat upright. "Colonel? I've been trying to reach you." I looked down toward the SUV. "Why?" A brief pause. "Because someone important wants to meet you." My grip tightened around the phone. "Who?" "Not over the phone." That answer only created more questions. Before I could ask another, he continued, "There's also something you should know." "What?" A brief pause. "Your family isn't telling the whole story." I laughed bitterly. "That's not exactly news." "No," he said. "You don't understand." His voice became serious. "There are things about your past support that even you don't know." I froze. What support? What didn't I know? Another pause. "We'll discuss it soon." Then he ended the call, just like that. No explanation, no details, nothing. For the next 2 days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What support? What didn't I know? Then my mother created another scandal. She posted a long message online claiming I had abandoned my family during a financial crisis. The post spread quickly, but something had changed. This time, people started asking questions, real questions. Why had Ethan needed so much money? Why were mortgage payments suddenly failing? Why were creditors contacting the family? Why did the story keep changing? For the first time, cracks appeared in their narrative. They could feel it too. The comments became defensive. The explanations became inconsistent. The lies became harder to maintain. Then, late Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed. Another message from Colonel Whitaker. Only 6 words. "Attend the charity gala tomorrow night." That was it. No explanation, no context, just a direct instruction. A few seconds later, another message arrived. This one hit harder. "Bring every financial record you still have." I stared at the screen. My heart began beating faster, because suddenly I understood something. The colonel wasn't investigating me. He was preparing something big, something involving my family. And whatever secret he had discovered, it was important enough that a U.S. Army colonel had personally come looking for me. The next night, at the largest charity gala in the city, I would finally learn why, and my family was about to make the biggest mistake of their lives. Saturday night arrived. The charity gala was bigger than anything my family had ever organized. More than 300 guests filled the ballroom. Business owners, investors, local politicians, community leaders, family friends, reporters, even a few military officers. The room glowed with money and status. Exactly the kind of audience my mother loved. Exactly the kind of audience she wanted to turn against me. The moment I walked inside, whispers started. My mother spotted me first, then Ethan, then my father. The 3 of them exchanged looks and smiled. That should have worried me. Instead, it made me curious, because people only smile like that when they think they've already won. A minute later, my mother stepped onto the stage with a microphone in her hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced. The room quieted. "I'd like to thank all of you for supporting our family during a very difficult time." Several guests nodded sympathetically. Then she looked directly at me. "Especially after being abandoned by someone we loved." The crowd turned toward me, exactly as she intended. Ethan stood up. Some people think wearing a uniform makes them a hero. A few people laughed. Meanwhile, the rest of us are actually building businesses and supporting communities. More laughter. My father joined in. Some people serve their country, he shrugged. Others serve their family. The implication was obvious. The room began judging me before hearing a single fact. Again, exactly like the promotion party. My mother smiled. She could feel the crowd on her side. Then she delivered the final blow. Sarah likes to pretend she's sacrificed for everyone. She laughed. The truth is, she's always been selfish. The crowd applauded. Actually applauded. My mother looked triumphant. Ethan looked invincible. My father looked proud. And for one brief moment, I understood why they had pushed so hard. They genuinely believed their own lies. Then the ballroom doors opened. A few people glanced over. Nobody paid much attention at first. Colonel James Whitaker entered quietly. Dark suit, military posture, black case in his hand. My family's smiles faded slightly. The colonel didn't acknowledge them. He walked directly toward me and stopped. "Captain Parker?" "Colonel." The room watched curiously. My mother recovered quickly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she laughed, "looks like Sarah brought backup." A few guests chuckled. The colonel remained expressionless. Then he placed the black case on a nearby table. Click. The locks opened. The room grew quieter. Inside were dozens of folders. Thick folders. The kind that contain years of secrets. My mother's smile disappeared. The colonel removed the first folder. Mortgage records. He placed it on the table. Then another. Medical debt payments. Another. Business funding transfers. Another. Emergency financial assistance. The ballroom became noticeably quieter. Guests exchanged confused looks. My mother stepped forward. "What exactly is this?" The colonel ignored her. He opened the mortgage folder. Over the last 8 years, the Parker family residence received 214 mortgage payments. He paused. All paid by Captain Sarah Parker. Silence. My mother's face froze. The colonel continued. "Not partially, entirely." Whispers erupted. My father suddenly looked sick. The colonel opened another folder. Medical expenses for Linda Parker. He flipped through pages. $37,000. Paid by Captain Parker. The whispers grew louder. Then another folder. Business support for Ethan Parker. The colonel placed several bank statements onto the table. Direct transfers, emergency cash injections, vendor payments, debt coverage. The room stared. Ethan's face had turned white. But then something unexpected happened. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. "That's it?" The room turned toward her. She pointed at the documents. "So my daughter helped her family." She shrugged. "Families help each other." A few guests nodded. Suddenly, I understood. This was their plan. Minimize everything. Twist everything. Survive everything. My mother pointed toward me dramatically. She volunteered. More nods. She wanted recognition. The room started shifting again. Not fully, but enough. The colonel noticed it too. For the first time all evening, he smiled. A very small smile. Then he opened a different folder. "Interesting. Let's discuss Ethan's company." Ethan stopped breathing. The colonel pulled out a document. Then another. Then another. According to these records, Ethan Parker's company faced bankruptcy 4 separate times. The room froze. The colonel held up the evidence. 4. A businessman near the front leaned forward. The colonel continued. Each time, the company survived because Captain Parker transferred. Another document. Without those transfers, the company would have ceased operations. Another. Without those transfers, employees would have lost jobs. Another. Without those transfers, investors would have lost money. The room exploded into whispers. Several investors stood immediately. One grabbed the documents. His expression darkened, then darker, then furious. "You told us this company was self-funded?" Nobody answered. He looked at Ethan. "You lied." The first crack appeared. Then another investor grabbed a folder. His face changed too. "You hid this?" A third investor stood up. A fourth. A fifth. Suddenly, nobody was looking at me anymore. They were looking at Ethan like they'd never seen him before. My mother tried to interrupt. "This is being taken out of context." "Enough." The voice cut through the room like thunder. Everyone turned. The ballroom doors had opened again, and this time nobody laughed, nobody whispered, nobody moved. A four-star general stood in the doorway. The entire room froze. Every military member instinctively straightened. The general entered slowly, deliberately, powerfully. Then he walked directly toward the stage, past my family, past the investors, past everyone, and stopped beside me. Then he saluted. The gasp that followed echoed across the ballroom. My mother looked like she might faint. The general turned toward the crowd. For 6 months, I have reviewed Captain Parker's record. Nobody spoke. Not because she requested recognition. He glanced toward my family. Because she never requested recognition. The room was silent. Then he delivered the first killing blow. The Parker family did not support Captain Parker. Pause. Captain Parker supported the Parker family. Silence. Then came the second. For nearly a decade, she was their primary financial lifeline. The third, the house they live in exists because of her. The fourth, the company Ethan Parker claims he built exists because of her. The fifth, the reputation they enjoy exists because of her sacrifices. Every sentence landed like a hammer, but the general wasn't finished, not even close. He nodded toward the colonel. The colonel opened one final folder. Screenshots, hundreds of screenshots, text messages, emails, social media posts, insults, threats, demands, mockery, humiliation, every ugly thing my family had ever said, displayed on giant screens around the ballroom. Gasps erupted. People started reading. One message, then another, then another. The room changed completely. My mother's insults, my father's mockery, Ethan's demands for money, every lie, every betrayal, every disgusting word. Public, permanent, undeniable. A woman near the front covered her mouth. Someone else shook her head. An investor simply stood up and walked out. Then another, then 5 more. The collapse had started, and now it couldn't be stopped. Relatives began leaving my family's tables. Friends quietly disappeared. Business partners backed away. Donors walked out. Sponsors ended conversations. The ballroom was witnessing a social execution. My mother finally broke. "Sarah, please." Tears streamed down her face. Real tears this time, not performance. Panic. My father stepped forward. "We made mistakes." Ethan looked completely defeated. "We can fix this." I stared at them. Years ago, those words would have mattered. Tonight, they felt empty, because they weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry everyone knew. My mother grabbed my arm. "Please." The room watched, waiting. Everybody wanted to know what I would say. I slowly took the microphone. 300 people fell silent. My mother looked hopeful. Ethan looked desperate. My father looked broken. I looked at all three. Then I spoke. For years, I thought if I sacrificed enough, worked hard enough, gave enough, eventually my family would love me. The room remained silent. I was wrong. I turned toward my mother. "You didn't love me." Then my father. "You loved what I provided." Then Ethan. "You loved what I paid for." Silence. Pure silence. Then I delivered the line, the one they would remember for the rest of their lives. "You spent years calling me worthless." I paused. "And yet, the moment I stopped helping, everything you built started collapsing." Another pause. Then the final strike. "So tell me, if I was truly worthless, why was I carrying all of you?" Nobody answered. Nobody could. The silence was devastating. I handed back the microphone, turned around, and walked toward the exit. Behind me, their world continued falling apart, but for the first time in years, it wasn't my responsibility to save it, and that was the greatest victory of all.